Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus A330 pilot, and welcome back to another relops on the Swiss A330 from Zurich to Johannesburg. Today this is going to be about a 9-hour 45-minute flight, and after a message from today's sponsor we can get straight into this. If you're looking for an ATC add-on that is not just capable of your standard IFR A to B flight, but also other things such as VFR, data link, and even a cabin crew simulation, then look no further than Sane Intentions AI. We'll be using them throughout today's video for both the cabin crew as well as air traffic control, so if you like what you're about to see, then check them out in the link in the pinned comment or the video description below. And with that out of the way, let's get straight into today's flight plan. This is what the route is going to look like. We'll be departing Zurich to the south and then right across Africa all the way down to Johannesburg. You can see that I planned quite a lot of ETOPS airports over here, while actually we only have two ETOPS sections, which are the one located up here and the one located down here. But the number of usable airports in Africa is actually rather small, so for that reason I've just inserted them all on the map so that we get a good idea of where all of our suitable airports are located. Now, looking into the significant weather charts, it is actually surprisingly clear. The first part of the flight has nothing on it at all. The second part of the flight, going through the intertropical convergence zone, only has a couple of very small areas, at least comparably very small. And then the third part of the flight, for about the last hour and a half or so, has some moderate turbulence up to level 400 in there. So the breakfast service is probably going to be a little bit bumpy today. Looking into the airport weather, there are of course lots of SIGMETs, which I'm all going to ignore today. But this is where things get interesting. Our departure weather in Zurich is actually very good. Clear skies with a southeasterly wind and 26 degrees for the time being. Our arrival weather in Johannesburg is excellent. Northerly winds, so I'm assuming runway 03 will be active today, and our first alternate in Gaborone is actually clear skies, cavalcade, lovely. Now, let's go ahead and have a look at the en route weather, because that is just as interesting when you're going through Africa. We're starting with our ETOPS entry airport in Tamangasset in southern Algeria, and that one has few CVs until 2100 UTC, so by the time that we would need it about 2 hours later, those are long going to be gone. Now, continuing from there, we've got Abuja up next, and they have Prop 30 tempo light thunderstorms, but Prop 30 tempo and only until 2100 again, so once again the weather expected over there is actually pretty good. Now, Yaoundé has this Prop 30 tempo variable 17 light thunderstorms as well, so that may not be too good. It lasts until midnight UTC, so by the time we arrive there, this should hopefully be gone as well. And if not, we can always use some other airports in the area. Well, I'm saying we can always use other airports in the area. Obviously, there aren't too many, but Yaoundé is one of the few that you can actually replace with Douala, so that should be fine. Now then, next we've got Brazzaville. They have very good weather. Luanda, likewise very good, and Windhoek very good as well. So this is surprisingly good weather conditions for an African flight. With that, let's go into the flight plan. An on-time departure at 2040 is going to result in landing 40 minutes ahead of schedule. Our expected takeoff weight is 223 tons today, starting in flight level 350, later 37, and then 390. We are going to ignore this level 400 down here, because if we look down in the flight plan, we can see that they want us to climb 9 hours, 26 minutes into the flight, and then descend a minute later. So we are not going to do that one. That's just a waste of fuel. Now, talking about fuel, let's go ahead and have a look at the plan. Now, if we depart with a minimum, which is basically 64 tons of fuel plus 500 kilos of taxi fuel, then we're going to land with about 5.7 tons in the tanks, which is about 1 hour flight time and the minimum that we should have. Now, since this is Africa, I do want to take a little bit more, just in case we might have to circumnavigate some weather or something. It's Africa. So for this reason, let's load up a little bit more. 66 tons of fuel should be absolutely fine, giving us an additional 15 minutes on top. Alright, and with that out of the way, let's get straight into our pre-flight procedures. So we are going to take a seat on the captain's seat today, and we will start by going into the electronic flight bag. So let's download our SimRief data for the Swiss flight 282 Zurich to Johannesburg. Our OFP is loaded on board, lovely. Then we can go over to the ground menu. I'm going to open 1 left, 2 left, and the cargo doors. Then let's head over into the payload page, download our SimRief data, and over here let's take the 66 tons of fuel that we want to carry. I'm going to do an instant load over here, making this nice and easy. Then we can continue down into the takeoff page, select runway 34, which is the one that I'm expecting for today's flight, synchronize the weather, take the takeoff weight, which is now going to be, let's see, 225 tons. So let's enter 225 up here. Config 2, air conditioning off, and calculate. Alright, and that gives us a full toga takeoff. The performance limiting weight is 236.9, so we do have a little bit of margin there, which should be just about fine. And trim 3.5 up. Alright, so far so good. Now with that out of the way, let's get started with the preliminary cockpit preparation. So that's going to be all engine masters off, engine start selector norm, the weather radar is off, predictive wind shear is also off, landing gear lever is down, and the wipers are off. Now the batteries are on and have more than 25.5 volts. External power is already on. Now the RMP, I'm just going to leave it where it is at the moment, but let's just turn the switches on as we'll need them. Loudspeaker is going to come on as well, but I'm not going to tune the frequency just yet because I do want to have a little bit of silence here while we are doing our pre-flight procedures. So then, APU fire test is looking very good, and then I am going to start the APU because it is still rather warm outside with those 26 degrees, and even if it's dark and probably cooling quickly, I do want some air conditioning by the time that our passengers are entering. Then the ADRs number 1, 2 and 3 are all coming online. Cockpit lights are basically set the way we need them to. I'm just going to turn the floodlights up down here, and that's it. Now let's go into the aircraft's acceptance. Press and hold the recoil for 3 seconds. And that's looking good, nothing in there. Nothing in the logbook or on the MEL either. Aircraft configuration summary, it's an A330-300 Rolls-Royce engines. Automatic nav and go around is installed. In terms of OEBs, we have 3 of them. OEB 30 issue 2, incorrect vertical profile during non-precision approaches. OEB 33 issue 2, pack flow monitoring. And OEB 57, cabin pressure excess cabin altitude. The last one is basically the only important one, that's in case we do get the cabin pressure excess cabin altitude ECAM warning. We run the procedure even if we're unable to confirm it on the condition page. Okay, and with that, we can head down into our EFB again and go for the airport charts, which I'm going to take from right here. Zurich, charts, airport. We do want the aerodrome ground chart, we want the aerodrome parking chart, and then we are looking for the departures. Down here on the ANA 5 charts, we can pin those too. And that's it. Lovely. So the APU is available, then we can turn APU bleed on as well. And before the walk around, cross-check the oxygen pressure is good, the hydraulic quantities are good. Let's also check the engine oil quantities. For that we turn on the FADEC, and that is looking fantastic as well. Alright, FADEC going back off. Now the flaps are up, that agrees with the lever, the spoilers are retracted. And let's release the parking brake, test the alternate brakes. And that's looking good. And parking brake is set again. Acupressure is still alright, that's lovely. And with that, the preliminary cockpit preparation is completed. So let's turn on the lights and then our colleague can head out for the walk around while we are starting the cockpit preparation procedure. Voice recorder on, oxygen crew supply is on, evacuation switch on captain, and all white lights are out. In the middle, fueling is complete, so the seatbelts are coming on. Moving up here, everything's set. Battery is going off and on again, and then we can have a look at the ELEC DC page to cross-check that the batteries are indeed charging, which they are. Okay, perfect. Fuel pumps are on, engine fire test coming now, and that is looking good. Now on the right hand side everything's set, and since we will have a third pilot on board, we do need the PAs, we do need to record them, but let's also turn on the interphone, VHF 2 and VHF 1. Over here we can already select 126.9, which is the in-flight broadcast frequency that we'll need in Africa. Voice recorder test would be done over here, and the rest is set. So then we can move forward to the main panel. GNH 1018. Let's set that on both sides. It's the 12th of August 25, and up here everything's set. Coming down to the main panel, weather radar is calibrated, off, and ground control suppression on. Weather and turbulence is selected. In the middle everything's set. On the right hand side everything is set. And then we can head into our FMS setup. So starting down here on the SimBrief dispatch app, FM1, A330-300, Trent 700 engine, nav database up to date. We can delete any of those stored waypoints and check and delete any of the scratchpad messages. Lovely. Alright, so init page, init request. Zurich to Joburg, alternate Gaborone, Swiss 282, Cosmin X30, flight level 350. That's all correct. I don't know where this airport modern database comes from, but that means we'll have to cross-check the flight plan carefully. So, starting in Zurich, departing runway 34, and our departure is going to be the Gaza 1 hotel departure. Let's insert that, and then have a look at the chart and cross-check it straight away. So, plan mode, constraints, let's have a look. We're departing on a 332 track to 40 Kilo Lima Oscar above 3,500 feet. And there is a note there which is for 4-engine aircraft only or by air traffic control. That shall not be our problem right now. So thereafter it's a left-hand turn, track 244, which we got down here to intercept the radial 190 inbound to Brego, and for that initial turn there is a 210 knot restriction over there, which we have noted as well. Now from there on we are going to continue Brego above 5,000, then via waypoint 556 above 8,000, 557 above 9,000, a fold above 10,000, Artak, and then down to Gaza above 14,000. Now let's go over the arrival, which we got down here. It's going to be an ILS approach, runway 03, and I suppose an ILS X-ray. Arrival is the Avago 1 Charlie. Let's just cross-check that, but here it is, Avago 1 Charlie, and insert. And now let's just quickly go over the entire flight plan to make sure that we didn't enter any nonsense, and to check if this airport not in database message actually had any further meaning there. Just checking for any kind of discontinuity right now or anything that would point to problems with the route. In the real world, with so many airways along a route, I would absolutely expect issues. Airways not getting uplinked, that kind of stuff. That absolutely happens on A330s. But nothing over here. Secondary flight plan, I'm going to keep a copy of the active. Now I would of course program the EOSIT in here, but on a previous attempt at recording this, I unfortunately had to find out that re-entering the return to Zurich causes a WASM crash, so we're not going to do that. What we can do though is go to the RADNAV page, because obviously there is a procedure for this, and we can use the website of Blackbox 711 to have a look at that. So once again, thank you so much Blackbox for actually having these. You can see runway 34, acceleration in 3000, EOSIT straight at 6.5 Kilo Lima Oscar, right turn, Zulu Uniform Echo, and hold. So let's go ahead and enter just that. Kilo, Lima Oscar, and then Zulu Uniform Echo. Here we go. Now, 034, enter over here, and then we can head over to the init page, next page, and start the performance. So 158.9 is our zero fuel weight, and since we don't know the CG yet, we'll enter 25. 66 tons of block fuel, tailwind 26 is our average, and now for the fuel figures. Going down here, alternate is 3.5 to Gaborone, then the final is 2.3. Route reserves 1.7 and taxi 0.5. Alright, I don't trust that extra number down here, but we'll get back to that. Now let's go to the performance real quick. It's going to be a config 2 takeoff, and you'll remember that we had to use full toga. Now, we've got one little problem on this flight, and that's the 3,500 restriction over there. And I am pretty sure the only way we can actually make that is by going noise abatement 1. So aerodrome elevation is 1400. So let's do thrust reduction at 2380, that's okay, and acceleration at 4400. So noise abatement procedure number 1. Now let's get the takeoff speeds, which are up here, 148, 153, and 157. 48, 53, 57. Alright, lovely. So next phase we are going to use derated climb 1. And now let's go back to the flight plan page and see what it predicts. So 3,300 at the cloak 4 point. Suppose the only thing we can do about that is to remove the climb derate. Unfortunately, this one doesn't recalculate, the real one would. Oh, it actually does, okay. So now we can make the 3,500, that's perfect. Prego, 80 is perfect, so the 5,000 no problem at all. Now, let's go a little bit further down and actually start entering our step climbs. So, step altitudes. So at Baka, we're going to climb to flight level 370. So Baka 370, and then at Namor, flight level 390. Like this. Lovely. So let's now check the extra fuel and time once again, and there is absolutely no reason for this to be negative, so I'm fairly sure it's actually calculating nonsense over here. We did enter the correct weights, so yeah, there's something wrong with those calculations. 66 tons sounds absolutely fine for a flight of this length. Okay, good. And you should have been 1.6. I did enter that earlier. No idea why I changed that. But okay, that's our FMS entries completed. So with that done, let's move up to the FCU. QNH is set, then we'll take arc, 10 miles. We'll need VORs on both sides. And then let's have a look into the charts for our initial climb. So Gas R1 Hotel, initial climb clearance is 5,000. Lovely. Alright, so you should be managed, and actually I don't know why it's giving us this strange FMA, so let's just turn them off and on again, and this looks a lot better. Alright, cool. So all this good stuff is done. Ground flight deck, oxygen test. You should hold this one down and then do the press to test again. But unfortunately it seems like that's a little bugged, so I suppose we'll just have to deal with that. Okay, good. So you can have constraints and VORs. And with that, we're basically ready to call for our IFR clearance. So let's see, delivery 121.903. And we are Swiss 282. Good, let's give him a shout. Zurich delivery, Swiss 282 Heavy, request IFR clearance to Johannesburg, information Alpha.
I'll have your clearance in just a second.
Alright, he's working. So, 43, we are already 3 minutes late, but boarding is still in progress, the doors are still open, so it's not our fault.
Swiss 282, information Alpha is current. Clear to Johannesburg via the Gers 1 hotel departure runway 34. Initial climb to 8,000 feet. Departure on 125.33, squawk 3251.
Swiss 282 clear to Johannesburg via Gaza 1 hotel, departure runway 34, climb 8,000, departure 125.33, squawk 3251. Alright, waiting for the
Swiss
readback.
282, read back correct. Contact ground on 121.905.
121.905, Swiss 282, bye-bye. Okay, lovely. So, runway 34, Gaza 1 hotel, that is confirmed. Initial climb 8,000, that is non-standard, but I'm happy for anything high. So, 125.33 as our departure frequency, and I am just going to pre-select that over here, just to have it as a reminder. And squawk 3251.
Air France 24 Foxtrot Tango, taxi to parking via Echo 3,
Right,
Echo,
good.
cross runway 28, then Mike.
So,
Echo 3, Echo, cross runway 28, then Mike, Air France 24 Foxtrot Tango.
And then we can start with our departure.
Edelweiss 170, request pushback. Edelweiss 170, push and start approved.
Alright, so we're departing
Pushback
Zurich,
approved.
runway
Edelweiss
34, Gaza 1
170.
hotel, initially 8,000. The MSA is up to 10,000, depending on the sectors. In the north, 5,000 keeps us safe. Extra fuel on time, we've got around 1,500 kilos, which equals just about 10 minutes. So, hotspots for the taxi routing is going to be the crossing of runway 28 over here. And stop margin for the rejected takeoff will not be much, just a few meters. Engine out sits straight at 6.5 miles from Kilo Lima Oscar, right turn Zulu Uniform Echo, climbing 5,000, that'll keep us safe. Then we enter the holding over there and consider our options. If we need to make an immediate return, then we are going to be above the maximum landing weight, so we are going to do the overweight landing procedure, and basically for anything that is not an unextinguishable fire, we'll just enter the holding overhead Zurich East and then decide on the further actions. Just for an inextinguishable fire, we can do traffic pattern, come back, land runway 34. I've got nothing special over here, nothing non-standard. Do you see threats for today's departure?
32 via Mike, Echo,
No,
cross
not
runway
really.
28, then
Lovely.
Charlie, Kilo Edelweiss
One miscellaneous
170.
item, that's the initial altitude here, 3,500. We're going to pay careful attention to our performance so that we're actually able to comply with this. Do you have any questions? No? Lovely, so that is our
Give way to the
briefing
company
completed.
777 Swiss
And then we can
902.
do the cockpit preparation checklist. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity, that's 65,940 kilogram balanced. Seatbelts on, ADRs, nav, baro rev, QNH 1018. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. Alright, by now the boarding should be completed, so let's go ahead and close our doors. So, closing all down there, then we can deselect the external power and remove it down here. The parking brake is set, so we can remove our chocks as well. And looks like it doesn't do that via the EFP, so let's go outside, do it down here. Shocks removed. Lovely. And then let's call GSX and tell it to prepare the position for pushback and departure. Handling by shipboard, that's fine. By now, we should also have gotten the load sheet, and this one tells us the airflow weight is 158.9 with the CG at 26.6. So let's have a look. 158.9, that's good, and 26.6. And that gives us a takeoff CG of 28.0, which agrees with the load sheet. Trim 3.5 up. Toga remains, and that is all looking good. Alright, lovely. So that's our performance completed. Then let's say hello to our guests. Grüezi, meine sehr verehrte Damen und Herren, aus dem Cockpit spricht hier Kapitän. Mein Name ist Emanuel, im Namen des Swiss darf ich sehr herzlich an Bord unseres Airbus A330 auf diesem Flug nach Johannesburg begrüßen. Mit dem Cockpit haben wir sehr verehrte Co-Piloten, die Sie heute fliegen werden. Wir erwarten eine Flugzeit von 9 Stunden und 45 Minuten in einer Reiseflughöhe von
Pushback approved. Swiss 176.
11 und 12 Kilometer.
Swiss 138 contact tower.
Wir bedanken uns an dieser Stelle ganz herzlich, dass Sie unsere Gäste sind. Machen Sie sich sicher an Bord.
Switching to tower, Swiss 138.
Wir werden uns mal einen Flug mit den neuesten
Ground, Edelweiss 289 kilo, taxi to the
Ladies
ramp.
and gentlemen, a very good evening from the flight. This is
Edelweiss 289 taxi to parking via Lima, cross runway 34, then Echo 7, Echo, Mike,
Today's flight
Echo.
time will be 9 hours and 45 minutes. We
Cross
expect a
runway
smooth
34,
flight
then Echo 7, Echo Mike, Echo Edelweiss 289 kilo.
Make yourself comfortable, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything we can do for you to make it more enjoyable, please
Give way to the Swiss 777, Air France 24,
Thank you
Foxtrot
very much
Tango.
for your attention, and again, welcome aboard. Alright, so with that we're pretty much done. Then let's turn on the transponder and call for pushback clearance. Zurich ground, Swiss 282 heavy, request pushback and startup.
Swiss 282 pushback and startup approved. Contact apron on 119.9 for tug assistance.
Pushback and startup approved, Swiss 282. So, before start, check this please. Park and brake. Set, takeoff speeds and thrust. V1 148, VR 153, V2 157, Toga. Windows. Closed. Beacon on. Before start checklist complete. Run from flight deck. So, pushback and startup approved. Runway 34, park and brake set.
taxi.
Roger, release brakes.
Swiss 176 taxi to runway 34
Both gonna
via
be
Mike,
nose left,
Echo.
first rest.
34 via Mike, Echo Swiss
Okay, park and
176.
brake is released. You're clear to push, and we're standing by for your signal to start the engines. Alright, here we go. So it's late evening, we gotta ensure that we get out of here before the airport actually closes. But we can't start the engines until we clear the road over here, so there's always that. Alright, we are clear of the gate position, then let's go ahead and commence our engine start. Ground from flight deck, we're starting 2 and 1 in that sequence. And engine 1 start.
Swiss 902 contact tower on 118.805.
Switching to tower, Swiss 902.
Right ground, we've got a good start in engine number 1, starting engine number 2. Clear 2. Okay, so avail is showing, engine 2 start. The pushback's complete, set parking brake. Parking brake set. So, number 2 is starting. We still have about half an hour until night curfew starts, so we should be absolutely fine here.
Swiss 176 contact tower on 118.655.
Switching to tower, Swiss 176.
Right ground, we've got 2 good engine starts. Prepare the airplane for taxi. See you on the right hand side. Have a wonderful evening. Good night. Okay, that trim is looking good, 28%. Lovely. So, there's the ramp agent, and she's holding the pin in her hands. That's looking good. After start checkers, please. Anti-RS, off, decam status, checked, pitch trim, 28% set, rudder trim, neutral, after start, checklist complete. Swiss 282 heavy, request taxi. So parking up here.
282, taxi to runway 34 via Charlie, Echo, cross runway 10, then Echo 8.
Taxi runway 34 via Charlie, Echo, Echo 8. Cross runway 10, Swiss 282 heavy. Okay, so straight ahead, second to the left, Echo, crossing 10, and then all the way to Echo. Well, we're not going to be able to Echo 8. We'll request Echo 9, but we'll do that when we're a little bit closer. Okay, clear right side and clear left side. Parking brake released. And dome light off. So the plane rolls on idle, just like the real A330 would. Brake check. Pressure 0. Okay, let's go. So, flight control track.
Via Echo 3.
Full up.
Echo cross runway 28.
Hold on. Neutral.
Echo 3,
left.
Echo cross runway 28, then Mike,
All right.
Edelweiss 45 Lima.
Neutral. So, next to the left, and we'll know that the rudder is working when we can turn the airplane, so I'm happy with that. Right, 10 knots for the turn. So, this is Echo. And we are clear to cross. Strobe light on. The right side is clear. And the left side is clear. Man, look at that move. That looks fantastic.
Approaching runways.
Okay, so we're clear to cross. Crossing 28. Both sides are clear. Southwest intersection, Echo 9.
Swiss 282, taxi to runway 34 via intersection Echo 9 are approved.
Echo 9 approved, Swiss 282, thank you. Okay, wonderful. So, no changes to the takeoff briefing, and our intersection is approved as well now. Good. So, transponder is set. Weather radar on. Cabin is ready. Takeoff config is normal. Lovely. Taxi checklist, please. Flight controls. Checked. Flap setting. Config 2. Radar predictive wind shear on auto. Engine start selector. Norm. Ecam memo. Takeoff. Nope. Taxi checklist. Complete. So, Echo 8 is next right. We are gonna go one further to Echo 9R.
Swiss 282, contact tower on 118.1, safe flight.
118.1, Swiss 282, bye-bye.
Down to flight level 160.
So, 125.33 is gonna be departure. Zurich Tower, Swiss 282 Heavy, ready for departure.
Swiss 282, Zurich Airport Tower, runway 34, winds calm, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 34, clear for takeoff, Swiss 282 Heavy. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Runway 34, Echo 9 is confirmed, that is the full length, and that's the one we calculated. Lineup checklist, please. Takeoff runway 34, Echo 9er, TCAS, TARA, PAX 1 and 2, off, lineup checklist complete. Are you ready? So I'm ready.
On runway 34.
That's checked. Okay, takeoff. Mantoga, SRS, runway, auto thrust. Thrust set. Knots, checked. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Checked. Autopilot 1.
Swiss 282, contact departure on 125.33.
125.33, Swiss 282. Thrust climb, auto thrust. Departure Swiss 282 Heavy, passing 3,500, climbing 8,000. level 140, Swiss 282 heavy. 14,000 blue. And since we've met the restriction, we can reinsert the climb derate. Thrust decline 1. Swiss 282. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Swiss radar, Swiss 282 heavy passing 5,000, climbing level 140. Okay, the turn is completed, then we can ignore the 210, so flaps 0. Speed checked.
Swiss 282, Swiss radar identified. Good evening, Zurich, QNH 1017.
QNH 1017, Swiss 282. Okay, 1017 cross checked, 5,180 now.
Swiss 282, roger, continue climb, flight level 100.
I stop climb, flight level 100, Swiss 282. 10,000 blue.
Flight level 100.
That's actually looking pretty cool, isn't it? Speed. Okay, so we should be able to keep any of those other altitude restrictions as far as I can tell. Yep, barely, but we can make it. Performance of the A330 is just incredible, isn't it? Not even 2,000 feet a minute a year. So it's done that. Start a cross check, passing flight level 73. Now, checked. Okay, so we can see the Alps approaching over there, but unfortunately terrain display is not simulated for the time being. So not much we can do except to comply with the altitude constraints here, but again, that is not going to be much of a problem. So level 80, we've got that. Level 90, we'll be able to do that as well, and 100 anyway, as we can already see down here by the level of arrow. Our engines are in climb thrust, and we don't need the throttle anymore. Good. Okay, we're barely just making the level 90 restriction here, but we're making it. That's all that counts. 1,000 to go. Speed, vertical speed. Okay. So let's see if we're gonna get any further climb anytime soon.
282, climb flight level 230.
Swiss 282, climbing flight level 230. Thrust decline 1, climb flight level 230 blue. So Gaza is actually getting amber, meaning the airplane does not expect that we can make it. Let's see. Yeah, level 117. Okay, then we'll take the climb D-rate out again. First climb. And now we can do it again. Now the constraint is magenta once more. Let's see what it predicts. Gasa 139. Yeah, okay. That's close enough for me. I'm happy with that. So we've passed 10,000.
Boarding has started. Emmanuel.
Lights off and clear and copy, please. So, optimum 354, maximum 370. Well, probably flight level 350 by the logic, but on the other end side, since this is a night flight, and since I'm definitely gonna go asleep once we are well underway and in cruise over here, I think I'm going to request level 370 straight away, so that I don't have to set myself an alarm clock just to do a step climb here. So 370 it is. The airplane is capable of it, so we are gonna do it. Alright, so it estimates we can't make the Gaza constraint again. Let me help it a bit. Select the 250. Look at that. Who says an A330 can't climb, huh? We'll just let it pull some speed off, convert it in altitude, and then we can go managed again once we're above level 140.
Climb flight level 310.
Swiss 282, climbing level 310. Note to myself, don't try to do the radios and cough at the same time. Alright, manage speed. And flight level 310 is blue. Alright, lovely. So, we can release the passengers. Then everything is done down here. Let's see about the arrival time. 0702. That's going to be just fine. The fuel is getting more as well, and just wait for it once we're in cruise. That estimate is going to come back up. Alright, good. So with that, we've done everything we needed to do. We can now go ahead and enjoy the beautiful views. Look at the moon, it's really bright today. Nicely illuminating the clouds, illuminating the Alps around us. I do hope that the resolution on YouTube is good enough that you guys can actually see the mountains outside. It just looks fantastic here. Look at that. This is just incredible, isn't it? That looks really good. Really, really good.
Juliet, flight level 350. Ryanair 75, Bravo Juliet, radar contact.
Alright then guys, with all of that out of the way, I'd say sit back, relax and enjoy the flight to Johannesburg.
Gaborone Center. Expect the AVAG 1 Charlie arrival. Plan for descent in maybe 20 minutes.
Expecting the AVAG 1 Charlie arrival. Planning descent in about 20 minutes. Swiss 282.
Good morning, my friends. You've just heard our star clearance, and that is indeed exactly what we've expected. So let's go ahead and prepare our airplane for the approach into Johannesburg. So let's first of all take a seat on the captain's seat once again, and let's go ahead and grab the latest weather. So here it is, 310 at 7, clear skies, 11 degrees, QNH 1027. Let's go ahead and pre-select that. So 1027 was pre-selected. The selector on the Asus isn't working 100% at the moment, so we'll just keep that where it is at the moment. Alright then, let's get our charts. We can put away those Zurich charts, not gonna go back there any longer. And then we're looking for Fox Alpha Oscar Romeo, Johannesburg. Okay, so we need the aerodrome ground chart and the parking chart down here. Then let's also find the arrivals. That looks a lot like we're still in Switzerland. Then probably this does as well, so let's just get rid of that. And let's see if we can... Yeah, that looks better. Alright, so we'll need the stars runway 3 right. Should hopefully be the ANAV ones. And then the approaches. And we had planned... Should have told us that over here. So, the ILS X-ray. Okay, let's grab the chart and have a look at what we are going to do. So, Avago 1 Charlie, that's up here. Here we go, starting at Avago, max 250 above 110, then towards Oscar Romeo 370. Max 250 above 110, Oscar Romeo 371, max 210 above level 90. That's looking good. Oscar Romeo 372, max 210 above level 90, and Oscar Romeo 383, max 210 above 8000. And from there, continue on the heading for radar vectors for an ILS approach, runway 03 right, which is active at the moment. So, looking at the chart itself, we are starting the approach out of 8000 and 7.8 DME. That's going to be the Fox India. 3-degree glide slope is down here and checked over here, and down to a minimum of 5710. Let's now see about the missed approach. Straight ahead to 7.3 DME from Juliet November India or 7.3 Juliet Sierra Victor. Maximum 240 knots, right hand turn, 130 degrees until radial 027 Hotel Golf Victor, which is that one. And that's, let's see, at 8000 and maximum 240 knots, yes. And then a right hand turn, 180. Interesting, that's a slight deviation over here. Right hand turn, 180 to intercept the radial 030 in Mount Hotel Golf Victor, which is the one that we've got down here. But interesting way that this is actually made up. But okay. That, in general, should be all correct. So we need Juliet Sierra Victor on number 1 and Hotel Golf Victor on number 2 with the course 210 pre-selected on this side. And yeah, well, we don't need to pre-select anything here, so that's fine. Alright, so progress page, we need Fox Alpha Oscar Romeo 03 right, like this. Now for the performance pages, that stuff's looking good. Speeds and the descent are looking good. We are arriving early anyway. Okay, so for the weather, 1027, 11 degrees, 310 at 7. Like that. Alright, minimum is 5710. And, well, the runway is very long. We're gonna vacate it towards the end anyway, so... Looking at this, 3405, vacate at the end, hotel, so config 3, and the auto brake is going to stay off. So for the go around, we're climbing 8,000, and the MSA on this one is 7,800, so we've got to make it an engine out acceleration altitude at 8,000. Oh, fuel extra 3.3, 44 minutes. See, I told you that we don't need to worry about the fuel when it did its predictions on the ground in Zurich. And secondary flight plan, I'll just copy the active, keep that as a backup, and that's it. Alright, lovely. So that's our setup already completed. Now, I would love to do some landing calculations, but unfortunately we only have a takeoff calculator in this airplane. So that is gonna do, and then I would say we can already start with the approach briefing, please. So, MSA 7800, Avago 1 Charlie arrival, radar vectors ILS 03 right. Minimum is 5710 and the go around straight ahead, right. Initial 240 speed restriction, but with that we can clean it up all the way. Let's just see, yeah, clean 227, so we can clean it up all the way, and climbing to an altitude of 8,000. Extra fuel and time, 2,200 kilos, which is about half an hour. Alright, then starting with the approach itself, flight director guided ILS approach, config 3, auto brake off. We're going to need about 2,500 meters to stop the aircraft. We have 3,400 available. We'll let it roll all the way to the end, so we'll go back to idle reverse rather soon, once we're below 100 knots, and then vacate the runway at the end. One hotspot for the taxi, and that's the crossing of runway 03 left, and thereafter we'll go straight to our gates. In terms of specials, we've got the high field elevation, but luckily it's not all too warm, even though it is worth saying that those 11 degrees, while they may seem cold, are actually quite a positive ISA deviation. So with a field elevation in about 5,000, 5,500, we should have an ISA or a standard temperature of +4, if I didn't mess those calculations up right now. So we're actually at 6 degrees warmer than standard atmosphere, and we're located rather high, so the approach speed is going to be rather quick. I guesstimate something about 160 knots ground speed or so, 150 to 160. So the descent rate will be a little bit higher, we'll have that in mind. Maximum allowable descent rate below 1,000 feet, just for the record, 1,200 feet a minute. Okay, and that's everything I got. Threats for the arrival? None. Lovely. And with that, we are done with our briefing. Let's say bye-bye to our guests. Einen schönen guten Morgen, liebe Fluggäste aus dem Cockpit, spricht hier Kapitän. In den ersten 10 Minuten werden wir unsere Reiseflughöhe verlassen und Sinkflug nach Johannesburg starten. Verbleibende Flugzeit etwa 40 Minuten. Das Wetter dort klarer Himmel, Temperatur um die 11 Grad. Wir bedanken uns herzlich, dass Sie heute unsere Gäste waren, wünschen Ihnen einen schönen Aufenthalt, gegebenenfalls eine gute und sichere Weiterreise, und wir freuen uns, bald wieder an Bord begrüßen zu dürfen. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. We will soon start our descent towards Johannesburg, remaining flight in about 40 minutes. The weather over there currently clear skies, temperature 11 degrees. Would like to thank you very much for choosing Swiss for today's flight. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to welcoming you again on board of one of our aircraft soon. Thank you very much for your attention, and we wish you a nice and safe continuous journey. Well, alright, that's all our preparation done, so I see you when we actually start the approach.
Swiss 282, Johannesburg radar identified. Good morning, expect the ILS runway 3 right approach into Johannesburg.
Expecting the ILS runway 3 right approach into Johannesburg, Swiss 282.
What a beautiful sight. Africa is just always amazing, isn't
contact
it?
Johannesburg Tower and
So a little
121.9.
traffic around here as well, but that
Switching to
shall not
Johannesburg
prevent
Tower
us
on
from doing our
121.9.
procedures. So let's get started with our 10,000 foot flow. So landing light is coming on, seatbelts are on, constraints LS, and we'll do that on both sides, of course. Well then, down into the FMS we have GPS primary, high accuracy, and the engine mode selector is in norm. Okay, lovely. We are still flying the flight levels at the moment, so we are not going to be able to do the approach checklist just yet, but I'm sure we're going to get further descent very soon. Now, if you're wondering why we just did the 10,000 foot flow while we are showing 15,000 on the altimeter, well, field elevation 5,000 feet. Welcome to Africa. That's one of those things I really like about flying here, especially in summertime. Remember, that's winter on the northern hemisphere. Especially in summertime when you have high temperatures, 25-30 degrees, combined with the high elevations, that's when it's really, really fun to fly. Especially in an airplane like the Airbus A330, which is a rather slippery one. Because ultimately, remember, those wings are built for the A340, and to carry an additional 10 tons per wing in the form of a second engine. So the A330 really has a huge chunk of lift, making it a very interesting airplane to fly. Right, and we got speed alt, maintaining 130. So as far as I can tell, all of those altitude restrictions... well, those don't seem to be above restrictions. What does the chart say? Oh, those are above restrictions, okay. Then we don't really need to worry about all of this. We are just going to maintain level 130. And ultimately I gotta ask why VNAV wanted us to be this low anyway. I mean, we gotta be in 80 over here. That's like 35, 40 miles away. Just to cover 5,000 feet. I think VNAV is going a little crazy right here. Keeping us very, very low. But okay, so be it. Then we're just gonna fly level in 130 here for a bit. Better that way than to fly it straight down to the ground, isn't it? Yeah, German first officer, my apologies. In any case, it's beautiful terrain out here. Our next speed restriction comes right up here at waypoint 371 in 17 miles with a maximum of 210, so basically green dot. You gotta remember after that the plane is really not gonna descend much anymore. In the real world, yeah, just shy of 1,000 feet a minute, probably sometimes even a little bit less. You just have that super aerodynamic airplane combined with engines that run at a very high idle thrust. It's very interesting. Normally we say we need 4 nautical miles to lose 1,000 feet altitude in the A330. It really is that aerodynamic. But when you switch the engine off, then the QRH advises you to use just 2 nautical miles per 1,000 feet. That just gives you an idea how much the high idle thrust of the engines influences the airplane's rate of descent. Or the lack thereof, depending on how you want to see it. Very, very interesting airplane to fly, that much I can tell you. Everybody said that the 737 is slippery back in the day when I flew it, and yeah, it kind of felt like it, but once you've flown an A330, it's a whole different story. That is a slippery airplane. That is really a slippery airplane. I think this is a little too early to reduce speed. Let's keep it right up at 250. Select it. Alright, and here comes Johannesburg. It's actually surprising seeing how most of the countryside just looks like wasteland from the above, but then you look down here and you have that absolutely huge city.
Cleared for the ILS Zulu runway 03 left approach. Descend and maintain flight level 080 until established. Down to 8,000 clear.
Really interesting to see.
Runway 03 left approach, Qatari 49er.
I'm a huge fan of Africa flights, provided they're not night flights, which unfortunately they are most of the time. Just because the landscape looks so totally different. Always amazing when you are flying long haul, how the landscape changes when you fly. Okay, so 5 miles prior to the waypoint where we gotta have 210 knots. Let's go managed again. And if we're on it already, activate approach race. Green dot is 207. We're supposed to fly 210.
49er
So
Alpha contact Johannesburg
that's
Tower
more
on
than close
121.9er.
look at how the
Over
airplane
to
barely
Johannesburg
loses
Tower,
airspeed.
121.9er,
The
Qatari
trend
49er
factor is
Alpha.
just about 10 knots. Sometimes even less in the real world. You do have somewhat high idle in the real world as well. That's probably the reason why. Okay, so can we see the field yet? It should be straight ahead 10 miles. Is that down here? I think that's it. Look at the lovely shadows.
Swiss 282, descend flight level 100, turn right heading 215 vectors for the ILS runway 3 right approach.
Descending flight level 100, turning right heading 215 for vectors to the ILS runway 3 right approach. Swiss 282.
First idle open descent heading, flight level 100 blue. And heading 215. So extend the center line, please.
Johannesburg radar, link 129er whiskey, flight level 140.
Well, what's that going to be?
Link 129er whiskey, radar contact.
Need an ILS chart.
Johannesburg radar, link 129er,
034,
flight
so
level 140.
214.
Link 129er, radar contact. Link 173, direct Johannesburg. Cleared for the ILS Zulu runway 03 left approach.
Okay.
Descend and maintain flight level 080 until established.
Down to 8,000. Cleared for the ILS
So,
Zulu
1,000 feet a minute.
runway 03 left approach. Link 173. Johannesburg radar.
That's our
South Air
field.
473, flight level 150.
South Air 473, radar contact.
Okay, still on the flight levels. Things might get a little bit spicy later on when we get our final vector.
Mansoria approach.
Probably combined with the
South
clearance
Air
down to an
473,
altitude,
flight
then we'll
level
have to do the approach
130.
checklist and a lot of stuff happening at the same time.
South Air 473, radar contact. Link 173 contact Johannesburg Tower on 121.9er.
Over to
Alright then,
Johannesburg
let's have a
Tower
little bit of fun.
121.9er at link 173.
So, autopilot off and auto thrust off. $1,000 to go. Checked.
Link 129er whiskey, direct Johannesburg. Cleared for the ILS Zulu runway 03 left approach. Descend and maintain flight level 080 until established. Swiss 282, turn left heading 180.
Turning left heading 180. Swiss 282.
Okay, heading 180.
Swiss 282, 8 miles from C03 Romeo Whiskey. Turn left heading 115, descend flight level 090 until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS runway 3 right approach.
Left heading 115, descend flight level 090 until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS runway 3 right approach, Swiss 282.
Okay, open descent, all flight level 90 blue.
Johannesburg Tower on 121.9er. Link 129er Whiskey.
Cabin is ready.
Link 129er, contact Johannesburg Tower on 121.9er.
Over to Johannesburg Tower on 121.9er. Link 129er.
SAF Air 473, contact Lanseria Tower on 124.0.
Switching to Lanseria Tower on 124.0. SAF
All
Air
star?
473.
So they want us to intercept out of level 90. That means we get the QNH really, really late. Ooh, interesting engine sound here. I just added a very small bit of power. Okay, so we're cleared for the ILS. Approach armed. Cat 1, glide slope localizer blue. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Alright, glide slope star, lock
Swiss
star.
282, contact Johannesburg Tower on 121.9er.
Switching to Johannesburg Tower on 121.9er, Swiss
Go on
282.
altitude 8,000 cent. Glide slope.
Johannesburg Tower, Swiss 282. Morning. We're established on the ILS approach for runway 3 right.
Runway inside.
Swiss 282, Johannesburg Tower. Winds 290 at 10. Runway 3 right. Cleared to land. Caution bird activity.
Runway 3 right, cleared to land, Swiss 282.
Swiss 282, confirm the QNH. Lock. Okay, so pretty fast still.
QNH 1027.
3L holding short, link
Set
174
QNH.
Mike.
QNH 1027 trust check, passing 7,940 now. Approach checklist. Power ref. QNH 1027. Seatbelts on, minimum. Barrel 5710. Auto brake off. Engine start selector. Norm. Approach checklist complete. Flaps 2. Speed check. Flaps 2. Checked. Gear down. Now comes the challenge of slowing down an A330. Flaps 3. Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Qatari 49er Alpha contact ground on 121.9er.
Switching to ground, Qatari 49er Alpha.
Flaps full. Speed checked. Flaps full. Actually, we were supposed to do conv 3. Let's change to full here real quick because we just need the drag. That's better. Okay.
1000.
Landing checklist. Ecam memo. Landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. So, just barely stabilized.
Approaching 0.
That's an
3
A330 for
right.
you guys. Okay, we are clear to land. The wind is going to turn a little bit to the left.
500.
RP is check correcting. Land.
Above.
Checked.
Minimum
Continue.
200.
Johannesburg
100.
Tower, link 752, established on the RNAV runway 03 right.
Birds.
30. 20.
Engines are okay.
752, roger.
Meters remaining.
Checked. We let it roll to the end.
1,200 remaining. 900 remaining.
Swiss 282, welcome to Johannesburg.
600 remaining.
Echo, Echo, cross runway 03 left, then Alpha Delta, stay on this frequency.
300 remaining.
Swiss 282, request taxi to gate Alpha 1.
Meters remaining.
Swiss 282, taxi to A1 via hotel, cross runway 21 right, then Alpha Echo. Have a good day.
Alpha 1 via Hotel Alpha Echo crossing 21 right approved, Swiss 282. Swiss 282, we had a bird strike over the runway threshold. Okay, clear left side, clear right side.
Swiss 282, roger. Bird strike reported over the runway threshold. We'll notify the necessary authorities.
Well, they don't need to notify any authorities, but what they do need to do is to get a marshaller to check the runway to be free of any remains of that bird. That is what you would actually have to do here. Okay, so runway vacated. We'll keep the flaps extended due to the bird strike. Nine hours 53 minutes. Not too shabby. Okay, so we're taxiing along Hotel right now. Crossing in here, then Alpha, Echo, and our gate is going to be just up here. So let's get GSX, apron Alpha, and we're parking Alpha 1. No follow me needed, handling by Swissport. Okay, after landing checklist, radar and predictive wind shear off, after landing checklist complete. Okay, my friends, with that, welcome to Johannesburg. Was an interesting one once again. We probably hit a couple of those birds, at least I can't imagine anything different. But yeah, that stuff happens. It's part of flying, especially in Africa. I personally once hit an owl that actually put a football big dent right in my radome. Wasn't particularly nice, had to exchange the radome after the flight, but interestingly enough, even though you had like a football big dent right in the very front of the airplane, well, it didn't show any signs of problems. Fuel flow, or rather fuel usage, was normal. No effects on the weather radar. So yeah, that stuff happens. Okay, so 3 left is clear on the left side, clear on the right side, we're clear to cross. Strobe lights on.
Approaching 2,
Thereafter continue
1,
Alpha
right.
Echo, that's going to be the first to the left, and then to the right. Behind the terminal building, basically. Strobes off. Okay, so to the left over here. Man, look at all those A380s over here. Qantas, Emirates, Delta A350 right next to it. Lufthansa 747 in the back there. KLM 777. I feel tiny in my A330 over here, next to all of those massive aircraft. Look at this. Okay, so we're going to turn right over here, and then our gate is going to be the second one on the right. And another A380, British Airways. And Emirates 777 next to it as well, just for good measure. Okay, all the sides are clear, then we can turn to the right and start the APU, please. So we park on Alpha 1, that is the second gate.
At 10, runway 03 right, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 03 right, GABA 202.
Okay, clear right side, lights off.
Springbok 534, established on the RNAV runway 03 right.
Springbok 534, roger.
Okay, the guidance system is off, there is no marshaller, I don't see much ground crew. They just had 9 hours and 53 minutes to prepare. Okay, now they're turning this guidance system on.
Stop. Wind 290 at 10,
Lovely.
runway 03 right, cleared to land.
APU bleed on,
Cleared to land,
park and brake set,
runway 03
and
right,
shut down.
link 752.
Okay, lovely. Both engines are running down. Beacon off. Now we shouldn't see the cruise page any longer. We should see the door page, please. Come to all doors and park. Theoretically, we shouldn't turn the seatbelt signs off until the slides are disarmed, but let's just do it. Okay, parking checklist please. Parking brake on trucks, brake set, engines off, fuel pumps off, parking checklist complete. Well then, we have arrived, but we are not done yet. So let's start getting GSX over here to do the deboarding. In the meantime, go down into the ground services, toggle the shocks. Looks like we might have to do that from the ground. Give me some shocks, please. Yes, no, maybe? Well, that looks like a no. Okay. Well, then we just toggle the GPU. That's fine. We don't need the APU any longer at 11 degrees. That's absolutely fine. Now, this is when we would have to contact ground, whom we can find on 119.909 with same tensions. Ground from flight deck.
Ground to flight deck. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Very good morning. We did have a bird strike on landing. Can you please inspect the flaps and advise us when we're clear to retract the flaps?
Ground to flight deck, Emmanuel. We'll inspect the flaps for bird strike damage. Stand by.
Okay, so while they're doing that, let's do our stuff here. Transponder, standby, and 2000. Let's see about the fuel. 58 tons of fuel used. Let's compare that to our flight plan, which had 57 tons versus 58. Okay, so we used a tiny bit more, but then again, I climbed a little bit earlier. That might as well have used up quite a bit of fuel. So happy with that. Alright, cool. So the fuel is understood, fuel on board remaining is fine, fuel distribution is even, a little bit less on the left hand side because of the APU usage. That's all fine. Alright, then we can shut this down. Ground from flight deck, did you find any signs of bird strike damage? Okay, schedule would have been...
Deck, Emmanuel. No signs of bird strike damage found. You are clear to retract the flaps.
Thank you very much. Retracting the flaps now. Alright, cool. So let's go ahead and just turn them all on. Alright, turn the flaps.
Deck, Emmanuel. You're clear to retract the flaps. Safe.
Thank you. Okay, flaps are retracting. It's always amazing to see this from the ground, just to see how large these things actually are. By the way, nice to see that we can actually hear the electric hydraulic pumps operating as well. Look at that. Okay, flaps are all retracted, then we can turn the electric hydraulic pumps back off again. Cool. And with that, welcome to Johannesburg. I do hope you guys enjoyed the flight as much as I did. I surely had a blast flying this one. Very much looking forward to the next one, but in the meantime it's up to you to let me know how you liked this one. Leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.